going to have one last question here about scaling. When people start thinking about options for increasing their performance and handling additional page views, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to start Googling, and they're going to find all kinds of information on blogs about what people have done to solve their own problems. But I'm going to go quickly down the table, starting with Barry. If you're thinking about whether you're using Apache or some other web server, inserting caching that you're not using yet, balancing, optimizing code, or throwing additional hardware at the problem, or really just working more on fixing the database, tuning queries, et cetera, where do you think people are going to get the most bang for their buck? Where would you suggest that people start?
Sure. Two quick suggestions. Nginx. So Nginx for us is the Swiss Army knife of our infrastructure. We use it as many different things. We use it as a web server to serve static content. We use it to proxy to PHP to serve dynamic content. We use it for caching. We use it for load balancing. We use it for everything. So you can really get a lot of flexibility and also speed out of Nginx. Second thing on the hardware side is solid state. Really look at considering solid state drives for your database servers. On WordPress.com, we migrated to solid state almost exclusively about 2 years ago. So we have about 600 or so solid state drives in production. We went from a configuration that cost, a drive configuration with a RAID controller that cost about $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. Basically replaced all of that stuff with a single solid state drive that was at the time, I think, like $250 or $300. And we saw an 8x performance increase. So it totally makes sense. And it also saves on power, so you're green at the same time. Those are my two main suggestions from scaling on a hardware perspective.
How about you, Eric?
Well, I would, before you go running off to Nginx, I mean, Apache's pretty good, and you're going to kind of be out there a little bit on your own in the Drupal community. And I would say that if you're going to go that route, you have to be kind of committed to solving problems that others haven't encountered to the same degree that you would in using what the rest of the crowd is working for. So I guess you guys probably have we have a relatively small development team. We only have 8 developers on staff and another 4 on contract. Caching is your friend, and it all comes down to what your business model is. So with his long tail, he's got a lot of sites with different content, logged in users. But if you're a media site, I mean, even with our community strategy, the vast majority of pages we serve are relatively static, and they're to anonymous users. So caching, whether it be Varnish or Squid, or using a CDN to edge serve static pages, the one thing you have to consider is in your application, there are even advantages to using reverse proxy or CDNs with dynamic content if you look at edge side includes and those types of technologies. And from the database, at least in Drupal, you have to be aware when you're writing things. Drupal doesn't automatically send read queries to a slave. At least in the version that we're using, you need to specify whether that query is kind of slave safe. So you have to kind of think about how when you're writing your code and you're writing SQL, that can this be slightly out of date by a few seconds for replication, et cetera. And on the hardware side, we didn't go solid state, but we did specify 10K drives as being slightly faster and not as expensive as 15K drives. So.
How about you, Kieran?
I guess I'll just give a bit of a self-serving message, which is find somebody who knows the platform really well and lean on them for the size you're looking at, and check their references and say, if you're going to have 10 million page views a month and you're going to have 150 modules or you're going to have 150 plugins or whatever, find somebody who's done that before at that size and lean on them, because I've gone in to bail out so many people who've built their architecture based off of blog posts they've written that are completely inappropriate for them, and it's just painful, right? I've seen people buy $100,000 worth of hardware, including solid state drives, and then never use it because they put it all at another tier. I've seen people read a blog post and make decisions about using this or that technology, and I think just check references, go get an expert you can lean on who's been on the platform, Pay your developers and know where their value is, and their value should be on building custom applications unique for your business model. And then when it comes to performance and expertise, there's lots of smart people. I mean, that's the great thing about both Drupal and WordPress. Thousands and thousands and thousands of developers out there who know this stuff. You do not have to pay your team to burn themselves first. There are many, many options to go to a great platform like WordPress VIP, go to Acquia Hosting, go to Logicworks. People who very cost effectively have made investments to save your ass, and you should take advantage of them.
Marvin.
Yeah, I would pretty much, following that point, say that if Acquia puts out a white paper, read it. If there's a new performance article on Lullabot, get familiar with that. You know, I mean, like, there's great resources of expertise. Definitely start there. My selfish answer for NBC Universal, I mean, we have an Akamai relationship, so, you know, caching, CDN, but that's not going to be available to everybody, right? So in that case, I would definitely say look for, if you're using Drupal, look for the database tuning. That's a great opportunity to improve. And just to my prior point about, I didn't want to like lambast Drupal, make it seem like it wasn't so great, but and I used to manage a team at AWOL Time Warner. It took us about 8 front-end developers and a mix of a couple back-end people about a month to make an award page site. Probably got that to 2 weeks. At Oxygen Media, if a new TV show has a site, we spin the site up in about 4 days with 1.5 developers using Drupal. So the ability to leverage not only expertise for performance tuning, but all these feature sets in these pre-existing modules allow you to really recoup the time you're putting into looking all these things up and investing in that, away from maybe investing in a larger team or spending more hours with your team to put out your product.
And Paul, your perspective on this from either the Drupal or the WordPress side?
Sure. Yeah, I would say for both, really, and it echoes a little bit of what Kieran was saying, is you know, these are open source, free platforms, right? But they're not free. You're investing a lot in these platforms. You want them, you know, they're powering your business, right? So reading blog posts, it's important to get out there and educate yourselves, but don't apply your sort of maybe older ways of thinking from other platforms to the decisions that you've made now, right? That's it. It's you know, it seems sort of obvious, right? But if you're investing this much money in it and building your entire business on WordPress or Drupal, spend the money to go out and talk to the people like WordPress VIP or Acquia or any of the other agencies out there in the world who really know what they're talking about. And invest also in training your internal staff. You know, you don't want to become completely reliant on third parties, right? You want to build your own business and maintain some sort of independence there as well. From a sort of practical purpose, the best thing that I did at Fast Company was to partner with a cheap, reliable CDN, offload as much of our traffic to them as possible when it counted. So, you know, publishing site, extremely volatile traffic, you know, going from hundreds of thousands of page views in a day to a link from the Yahoo homepage sending 1 million in an hour, right? So the ability to quickly switch out, pass things off to a CDN saved their lives and did it extremely cheaply.
Eric, it looked like you had a comment.
Just one more point. I mean, we are talking about open source projects, and it's something to consider when you go into these things that it's free software, but it's maintained by the community. So it's important that within your organization that you kind of, you know, make the time, even though it may be a little bit longer if you're creating a custom module, that it can be contributed back to the community. We have a tendency, and you know, I urge my team to do this, we have a tendency to make something that's very specific for us, especially when we're an enterprise and that's the way we think. But if we don't contribute back to the community, then you know, people are volunteering that much, and there are a lot of very, very passionate people at DrupalCon. You should go there. It's almost a religious experience. But you know, most of these people have day jobs, and we should be, you know, consider that when we're asking people to, you know, write in Drupal that they take some time to contribute back, so that the whether it be WordPress or Drupal, so that the community stays vibrant and sustainable.